get started. Just want to do a quick sound check because I was having some issues. Miranda, can you hear me okay?
You're sounding great, Nikki.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thanks. All right, so hi everyone and welcome to our third meeting for the DEI Business Engagement Community of Practice. Really happy to be here for our third month in a row and hear from another one of our wonderful presentations. So moderators for today, I am Nikki Powis and I'm part of the Disability Employment Initiative Technical Assistance Team with the National Disability Institute and will be your facilitator today. And then also joining me from NDI is our training director, Miranda Kennedy, and she's going to be providing the behind-the-scenes technical expertise and making sure that everything's running smoothly. So a big thank you, Miranda, with that. That's not my area of expertise, so I am thankful that she is doing that. So just for a quick recap for those of you that haven't participated over the last couple of months so that you're aware of what we're all doing here today, and a recap on the intent of our business engagement community of practice for any of those who hadn't had an opportunity to listen in. So this is really a dynamic process that seeks to engage our DEI project staff from across the nation to really share together and learn from one another's successes and challenges. You know, you've all got the common mission of having a disability employment initiative grant and implementing very similar strategies across your projects. And so, and within the workforce system in your state. And so there's really much that can be gained from getting together and building that cross-state community, so hence the community of practice. So we've really set this up for our monthly meetings where we all get together and highlight one of the state's projects for everyone to hear what others are doing in regard to business engagement. And then we can follow up with questions and answers in a discussion to delve deeper into how perhaps the highlighted information could benefit your project, and also for the highlighted project to gain some information and ideas and strategies from you all that could maybe assist them in going forward. And so in addition, everyone who said that they want to be part of the ongoing communication in between the monthly meetings has received a list of each other's emails. Some of you have said, yes, you wanted to share your email, but you didn't say yes, you wanted to be part of the distribution and the ongoing conversation. So I did want to just clarify that. So if you haven't received any emails between the meetings and you really wanted to, so please make sure that you do email either Miranda or myself and let us know that, because there were two questions on the post-webinar survey the last couple of months. And one says, do you want to share your email? And one says, do you want to be part of the community? And some people put yes, they wanted to share their email, but didn't answer the part of the community, so I didn't connect you. So anyway, a couple of states have actually already had some phone calls with their peers to learn and share more. And we really want this to grow and be a forum to connect on a deeper level with one another as a group. Or independently as it's useful for you. So again, just email Miranda or I and let us know that you really want to be included in this, and then we will connect you with others, and we can continue the conversations and the discussions and the community beyond the meetings today. And so if you haven't had an opportunity to listen in before, you can also find the Community of Practice landing page here at this link that's on your screen right now, and you can also access the archived meetings from the last couple of months there as well. So that's what we're all about and why we're here and what we're doing. So for today, since, as I said, each month we're going to highlight some great work from around the country, and we really have heard some wonderful work that's being done within the DEI around business engagement over the past few months, and today certainly is absolutely no exception. One of the things that there's mentioning is that to date, all the highlighted states have presented jointly with their vote rehab partners. And that's really been indicative in demonstrating the collaboration that's really happening in the field. And, you know, as everybody knows, that is really one of the main driving factors, both for WIOA and for the Disability Employment Initiative, is to partner and really work together and leverage each other and help each other and get to the same goals. So again, today is no exception, and we'll hear from the state of Iowa and their collaborative business engagement efforts that have resulted in some really creative events called the Reverse Job Fairs. So today we have three wonderful ladies presenting. Diane Hernandez, who is the Disability Resource Coordinator from Central Iowa's Round 6 Adult Project. Previously, Diane served as a certified brain injury specialist and outcomes coordinator in the area of neurobehavioral rehabilitation. Also today, we're going to hear from Shannon Myers, who is an employment specialist and certified rehab counselor at Iowa Department for the Blind. Prior to this, Shannon was a transition counselor for vocational rehabilitation. She's owned a small business and spent a decade in the business world as a business development executive. And we're also going to hear from Michelle Kraft, who is the Resource Manager for Business Services for Iowa Vocational Rehabilitation. She builds partnerships with business and industry across the state, as well as training counseling staff on building lasting relationships with businesses. Michelle was a counselor for vocational rehabilitation in Iowa for 15 years prior to this role. So all three ladies have some wonderful contributions as they're going to share what Iowa is doing today. So take it away, Iowa, with your reverse job fairs.
Okay, so we've got the idea that hosting job fairs is a popular and effective feature of the American Job Center. So we have a lot of job fairs out there, but we know that a lot of the times the people that we're serving have trouble managing through those job fairs and have trouble even like physically getting through the space, or maybe have problems with dealing with the situation. So we're going to ask you, like, what has been your experience with people with disabilities accessing job fairs and achieving employment outcomes? So, Nikki, they just...
Thanks a lot, Shannon. That's great. So we've got a polling question here. So as you heard, you know, there are challenges, and typically the traditional job fairs sometimes don't result in the outcomes that we want for individuals with disabilities. So let's hear from all of you. It's your turn to get going, and you'll see that on the side there you've got a polling question. And so what is your experience with people with disabilities accessing job fairs and achieving the employment outcomes as a result? What's that been? Has it been positive? It works well in my area. Neutral, it works sometimes, but not all the time. Negative, it's just not working at all. It's not a good avenue for that. Or other, we've developed lots of other strategies just like Iowa and the previous things we heard about from Connecticut and South Dakota. So if you take a look there on the side of your screen, you should have those answers, and you can start putting in what, you know, what your recorded are. And Miranda, I can't see on my end when people are responding, so maybe you can let me know when it looks like everybody has and we can move forward.
Great. Yeah, it looks like a lot of folks are answering the question. Thank you so much. We've got some folks who are still in progress. We'll give you just another 20 seconds or so here. It's looking like the majority of folks are coming in at saying it's B, neutral, where it works sometimes. That's heavily the most. Yeah, and the people who are still piping up are all saying that. We've got about 3 folks who are saying it's positive, it works in their area, 16 who've come in saying it works sometimes, 1 saying it's not working. I'll go ahead and close the poll at this point, but that gives you a little, we've got 1 person saying other. They've developed other strategies in their area. We'll want to hear from them, right? So the poll in about a second, so pipe up if you have another. Yeah, the folks who are coming in, by and large, it's neutral, Nikki.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Okay, well, there we go. So it works sometimes. So let's go back to Iowa and listen to how their reverse job fair has really been turning those tables.
All right, so yeah, we've been able to, we've had the same experience. I know that Shannon and Michelle and I have all had through the same experience with job fairs that the people who are in the poll have had. And so we were able to literally turn the tables on the job fair concept. So we're anxious to find out what everybody else has done, but for those of you who haven't really been familiar with this idea before, here's a little primer.
The reverse job fair is a chance for the job seeker to be the one who develops the exhibit, the display case, the materials, the ideas, the things to draw people to the table. And it's actually the employer that walks from table to table saying, hey, you know, show me what you got. I want to learn a little bit more about what you've got to offer. So the benefits to this are that for the job seeker, they're going to come out of this process. It's a process. It's not just one event. But they are going to come out of this process with a quality portfolio, great resume, a much better delivery of what their strengths and abilities are, and so much more confidence. So one of the things that I like is even if the job seeker doesn't get a job through this job fair, which there's a good, strong chance that they will, they are definitely going to come out with more confidence and really able to attack their job search. And for employers, it gives them a chance to come to an event. They don't have to have exhibits saved. They don't have to bring stuff. They can stay as long as they want. And they really get a unique opportunity to hear about the abilities and strengths of the job seekers that come and really think outside the box about how can this person fit in with my organization. Now there's a URL there for a video for people who want to learn more about it even after the presentation so that they can see a video that was developed by IVRS about it and actually see the event. But that's the general idea. And for people who would know me, I'm a huge believer in collaboration. That's kind of my thing. And so I was very excited with the Employer Disability Resource Network, which gave us a good chance to collaborate together. I'm going to let Michelle tell you a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Diane. So the Employer Disability Resource Network, I'm going to refer to it as EDRN, and that was established in 2008. And really our mission is to be the premier partner for employers seeking qualified employees. So we are a group of partners that get together one time a month and just really talk about how we can best serve businesses in the area. I'm sure many of you hear the same thing we hear. Don't you guys talk to each other? Can't there just be one voice? So that's who we are. We're one voice to all of our business partners, and one of our strategies to serve our business partners is the reverse job fair.
Okay, so how do we get this event going? The most important project is putting together a plan. So essential to this success is a strong work readiness or preparation component. There's a number of ways that you could do this. We decided on a three-part or a three-day event for our reverse job fair. So on the first day, we're focusing on a work readiness workshop. And with this, we are having different clinic stations with different activities that are helping the participants build their skills. In between the day one and day two, all of the agencies that are referring candidates for the reverse job fair, they're meeting one-on-one with their counselors to do some in-depth training. So if there needs to be assistive technology, that's a part of this. If there needs to be some more brainstorming as to how to creatively display skills, then the counselor is meeting with their job candidate on that. The second day is the dry run. We really feel like this is such an important event. It's kind of the dress rehearsal for the big day. So the dry run helps get out all of the kinks and just practice, making the job seekers more comfortable with this. And then the actual day three is the actual reverse job fair. So we're going out and getting jobs, the employers are attending, and this is the reverse job fair. So one of the things that we have found to be very, very important, and maybe the hardest part of putting together the reverse job fair, is to find a location. So some tips to finding a location that we have found is try to find a free location, and that's a good location, and this might take you a little bit of time to develop a great spot. We found that free works for us because everyone likes free, right? We also focus on having locations that have a lot of parking. Another good spot is to have a location that is off the bus line. Make sure your location is accessible. Make sure the bathrooms are accessible and close to the room in the event. Another thing that we've noticed is to make sure the room size is appropriate to the size of the employers that are attending and then the job seekers that are displaying their skills. One of the things that we made sure to do was to provide the same location for all 3 events. That way job seekers are not having to find different locations on different days. Another good tip is to find a location that has water and coffee available and restrooms that are close. Another thing that we've done is to seek a location that has a small room that's next to the large room, and that's just so if an on-the-spot interview needs to occur or if you need to have a side conversation that there's a smaller room to do that. Make sure that there's signs and directions all displaying where the location is. Make sure that there are tables and Wi-Fi and outlets for job seekers available as well, or other tips that can be shared.
So once you find a place where you're going to have it, then the next idea is to decide who's going to be there. So we got the where, and now we got to find the who, right? So we did it so that we had each of the agencies bring 5 job seekers. But the main thing that you need to consider when you're thinking about the job candidates is you've got to make sure that your candidates are committed to this process. So that's really the only criteria we had, because it is a process. It's a growth opportunity, so you want to make sure they're really committed to developing the best presentation that they can, and also that you have time to help them get prepared the way that they should be. And so we're going to let Michelle talk a little bit about now the who of the employers.
So what we did was we actually had our job candidates fill out applications. And on their applications, we identified which sector their goal was in. And so if they were interested in being a CNA, we identified them as healthcare. And we organized our employers by sectors. And we only invited employers that would benefit from our job candidates seeking employment at this particular reverse job fair. So the employers were really different at every reverse job fair, depending upon who our applicants were and what their sector was that they were interested in for employment. And we thought this was important because when we sent out the invitations to our business partners, we let them know how many people were interested in employment in all of the different sectors. So they knew when they came how many potential applicants they would have access to that would be seeking employment in an area in which they were seeking employees. And businesses said to us that they really liked this. They really liked to know how many candidates, and we coordinated things by color, which I'll talk to you about in a little bit, but they were able to go right to that candidate and get the information they needed from the person. So it was really well organized. And I wanted to jump back to identifying the candidates real quickly. At Iowa Vocational Rehabilitation Services, our job candidates worked with our assistants, and we had groups where they came in and worked on preparing their board and preparing their speeches and preparing everything. So we looked different than the other agencies where they worked more one-on-one with the candidates, and I just wanted to throw out there that there are a lot of different ways to be able to provide the services to our job candidates. And so then I was just going to let you know real quick how we sold this to employers. Of course, we were super excited as we went out and talked to businesses about it. 1 week prior to the actual event, we had diversity summits where we talked about accommodations in the workplace. We talked about the aging worker, kind of the life cycle of an employee, and we really kind of hit home that if they come to the reverse job fair, they're going to have access to our applicants who would be really good fits. They've been working with us for a period of time, and so we got in front of them a week before and really, you know, I think hopefully you can tell that we love what we do and we have a lot of passion, and I think that passion showed when we met with our business partners the week before. But we did a lot of work prior to. We were on the news, and we invited employers through the local news station. We sent out emails. We personally invited them. I know as Shannon was going out meeting with business partners, she was really encouraging them to register to come. So it was a really, really exciting thing for our business partners.
Thank you, Michelle. So what does a work readiness workshop look like? We chose to do 5 different stations, and again, this is all depending on what are the needs of the population and job seekers that you're serving. You know, one of the things is the look, how to dress for success. We asked individuals to either dress in what they were going to wear for the boot camp or the prep activities so we could give feedback. For the interviewing portions, one of the most important things that we did was we invited our business partners to come and give feedback to the candidates, and sometimes that, you know, that resulted in interviews that happened. The resume and application, that is exactly what it is, assistance with those 2 activities. One of the great things that happened from this is that we were able to give feedback to job candidates that maybe we've been working with a long time and we weren't seeing any new information. And so one of our community partners or business partners was able to give some additional feedback for a resume. The 30-second elevator speech, that was just a networking skill that we wanted to focus on to make sure that our candidates were getting that sort of training. And then the display 101, that was the actual how to display their skills creatively. My population, individuals are blind or have vision loss, and so we were talking about assistive technology, for example, that could be used as far as displaying skills. And then there's the one-on-one coaching, and this is the fun part. This is where you've gone to the workshop, everybody's got the basics, they know what they need to do, and so then we're meeting one-on-one with these candidates, either through the means that Michelle laid out earlier, or in my case, we were meeting, you know, more one directly me or somebody else in my office was directly one-on-one on them. And this is a chance to really develop unique presentations. So I know, like, Shannon had folks from her department that came over, and they had their assistive technology right there. So if businesses came up and wondered how is that going to work, they could show them right there on the spot. We had one gal who was interested in doing transportation, distribution, and logistics who had an actual, like, little miniature warehouse at her site so that she could show how that she understood the inventory process and the picking and packaging process. We've had people who had big wheels and you turned them, and then when you hit a different strength, they could talk about that specific strength. So they were all very, very unique, very, very different. And this is the time when we're really practicing those 30-second elevator speeches. We're really working on those resumes. This is where the real meat of the work happens. But it's really fun because you get to see those job candidates grow in the process.
So then we get to the mock job fair and the rehearsal, which is kind of like a rehearsal for a wedding, right? You want to try out everything, make sure everything's going as planned. And so this is where we introduce our job candidates to the colored tablecloths. So every sector had its own colored tablecloth. And we set that up right from the get-go with our rehearsal. Some of the things we learned and why we felt that this was such an important step, one example is we said our reverse job fair was from 9 to 11. Our job candidates showed up at 9 for the rehearsal. Our business partners were already there, ready to go through and help us do this rehearsal. And so we needed to clarify, if it starts at 9 o'clock, that means be here at 8 o'clock. Another thing, some of our job candidates had decided they didn't want to do a display. They didn't feel like it was them. In being at the rehearsal, they were able to look around at everybody else and they're like, oh, man, those tables are really attractive with their different displays. I better hurry up and go do something or businesses are going to walk right by me. So it was not only a learning process for us, but for our job candidates as well, just to be their very most prepared self. They needed to really kind of go through this. So the next slide is just a sample of what our tables, nope, it's not. The next slide is really just what we handed out to our business partners. Nope, I'm going back to the table. So this is what our tables look like and kind of how that color coordination went. We felt it was really important to keep all of our customer services as far away from one another as we could. And so there was a lot of strategic planning in making sure the colors, the candidates were not right beside each other if they were both looking for the same career goals. The next slide is what we handed to the businesses when they came in. So we pulled them into the employer room and we explained what the colors meant. Surely they could go talk to anybody, but if they were really just interested in that hospitality, they would want to go to those orange tablecloths.
Yeah, and I will say that the feedback that we got from the employers with the tablecloth was one of their very favorite things, because I think they come in and they're like, well, who do I want to talk to? The colors on the tablecloth gave them an idea of exactly who they wanted to talk to. So here we are. We're at the Reverse Job Fair Day. We've done it, right? Like, we've done the workshop. We were able to do our one-on-one work. We did the mock job fair, and when we did the mock job fair, we laid it out, man. We made sure that we had everything covered. We thought we had it all together, and we so didn't. So we were super happy when the Reverse Job Fair came around because we had a chance to correct everything that we had found was a challenge or a difficulty during the mock job fair. We have provided in these materials, I know we gave to Nikki and to Miranda, a full, like a very, very detailed, thanks to Michelle, super detailed layout of exactly all the steps. So certainly look at these slides, but look at that because that's going to give you just, if you want to know like step by step exactly what to do, that handout is going to be where you're going to find that. This gives you some of the highlights. You want to make sure that your employers have RSVP'd, and then you want to make sure you have a list of them. You want to make sure that you have a sign-in sheet both in the front and at each one of the tables because the job seekers might not think about the fact that they need to have a record of who came to their table and maybe have some notes on that. Definitely want to do satisfaction surveys. You want to know how your job seekers felt about it, how the employers felt about it. And then you're going to want to make sure that your staff, like Michelle said, arrived about 1 hour before. There's lots of setup to do. You got to get the tables in the right place. You got to make sure the signs. I'm a sign gal. If anybody has any questions about signs, they trust me with the tough stuff. So I was the one who put up the arrows around everywhere. And then, you know, when it comes, you've worked really hard at this. Everybody's put in a lot of work. Enjoy it. Like, walk around to the tables. Find out how the job seekers are doing, talk to the employers. This is a great networking opportunity for you to get to know the employers better as well. So, you know, have some fun with this when the actual Reverse Job Fair comes around.
And can I throw in something real quick? At our last Reverse Job Fair, you always kind of have a couple people that stand out more than the rest. And we actually had one gal who stand out so much. I'm not even lying, and if you could see me and you would be able to see my hand emotions, but she was standing in front of this girl's booth yelling, "Go away, this one's mine, no one else can have her," waving her hands. It was just the best feeling ever to watch how excited the employers got as they were meeting with our candidates, and our candidates were just selling themselves like we've never seen before, and like these matches were happening, and we're standing back in awe going, "You guys, we made this happen," and we're like crying and hugging.
I love that you shared that story, Michelle. That individual that you're talking about, she got 2 job offers, and before she attended the Reverse Job Fair, she was wondering what she could offer to an employer, and then she had the hard decision of, where do I work? Okay, so the Reverse Job Fair is over. What do you do next? You're not done. You have to follow up with everyone involved. So follow up with your employers. Make sure that all questions were answered. If they wanted to follow up with the job seeker, offer an interview, making sure you're making those connections be known. Make sure that you're following up with all the job seekers. Have they sent out thank you notes? Those kinds of things. you know, with any event, it's also important that you have somebody that's keeping tally and record of everything that's occurred. And Michelle is our record keeper. She's keeping the momentum going, and she's keeping tallies of who's getting interviews and measuring our success. So keep the momentum going, and don't forget the follow-up steps.
And we found that we did follow up with businesses afterwards, and they'd given our job candidates requisition numbers to apply for, and our job candidates were forgetting to tell their staff. So just another piece of why that follow-up is so important, so we can make sure that our candidates are actually applying for the jobs they talk to the businesses about.
Well, yeah, and you want to stay in touch with those candidates, because like I had one candidate who got a job that she wasn't, and then wasn't exactly working out the way that she wanted to. In the middle of that, I saw an ad for one of the employers who was at the job fair and was able to say, hey, that was like a really good connection, was able to call up, they remembered the candidate. So this is months and months after the reverse job fair that a candidate actually got a job directly from the reverse job fair. So you want to make sure that you're staying on that. So Nikki, you're going to go with the polling question?
Yeah. So, you know, what's obviously completely apparent to us is how well you guys work together and the communication you have and the follow-up and the level of trust. And we heard a very similar thing from our other presentations as well, and it's great. So we want to ask the rest of everybody, and on this side of the screen there again, you'll have your polling question come up. So at what level of trust and seamless communication and partnership are you at in your local area or state level if you're at the state level with your Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act partners around the business engagement strategies? You know, you may, a lot of places say that they really partner well around, you know, workshops and things like that, but we're thinking specifically around business engagement. How well are you really communicating, and how well is your partnership? So couldn't be better, we're fantastic, good, but we have a little bit of room for improvement, or needs some work, or it needs a lot of work. No wrong answers here, just be honest about where you're at in your own state and project for the business engagement strategies and the partnerships that exist. And Miranda, I will have to look to you again to tell me how things are coming in.
Right, and this poll is anonymous, folks, so you can be honest. We're getting the vast majority of people are saying good, but we have room for improvement. We do have quite a few folks who are saying needs work, and you know, one individual who needs a lot of work, and these are some great strategies for those who have that. Yeah, lots of people rolling in with the vast majority are saying good, but we have room for improvement, which is what our community of practice is all about, and definitely some folks who are needing some work or even needing a lot of work. So couldn't be better is oh, one person did come in and said couldn't be better. Wow, we're going to want to hear from them too. What is it that couldn't be better? Maybe they're already doing reverse job fairs, Nikki. Okay, we'll go ahead and close out the poll. We did have about 20 folks come in saying B is good, we have room for improvement, 1 with couldn't be better, 5 with needs work, 1 with needs a lot of work.
All right, well, I got to say I am pretty darn lucky.
We all are, Diane. So I think that when we talk about the impact and outcomes, for us personally, that was probably the biggest impact. I feel like we've always gotten along. We've always coordinated really well. But through this process, our coordination went to cooperation to full partnerships. And I think I can say for all 3 of us, I wouldn't just say we're coworkers, I would say we're friends. And I mean, we're always like texting and like, hey, what do you know about this? And hey, did you know about this? And it's just taken it to the whole next level, because you have to trust each other, and you have to get along, and you have to, well, you don't have to, but to make it successful, you have to. And we saw that when the team wasn't strong, our second reverse job fair, our team wasn't strong, and it reflected in our numbers. We only had 4 participants participate in that one, and we had one placement out of it, which was wonderful. But when our team is strong and we're all working together and we're like loving it, we have like phenomenal outcomes. And so in Iowa, we did have the 3 reverse job fairs. Total, we had 40 participants in all 3 of those with 11 placements. 11! That's like 28%. Oh my gosh, I've never sent a job candidate anywhere and had 28% success. And these aren't just jobs, guys. These are careers. These are people going into fields that they had a job goal for, that they had been working with us on finding a career in that particular sector. That's where they're landing their careers. I wanted to give you a couple of examples, and I know my peers are going to cut me off because I'm known as the talker. But a couple of our placements were, we had one man, and he was on the ID waiver. He was most significantly disabled. He had a job coach with him, and he was like so amazing. He had this little apple ball, and this little apple ball was rolling around on the ground, and he was controlling it with his iPhone, and he was bumping into people's feet with it. And they would see this little eyeball, and they would look up, and they would look around, and his job coach would be, hey, come over here, guys. And then they did such a great job of selling him that he got a job in the Science Center of Iowa in the technology unit. Like, how cool is that? Shannon has some great examples of some of her persons with vision impairment, and I know Diane had an amazing example that she's going to tell you about of her gal who had a hearing impairment. But I just want to give you one more example because this one, it really means a lot to me. It was one of our job candidates, and he was in what we call Job Club. He was working one-on-one with our counselors. He was working with our assistants. He was coming to Job Club weekly for 10 years. 10 years he was looking for work. And we weren't helping him. He had a goal to be, we were helping him, but we were helping him in our way, not in his way. We were helping him by having him fill out job applications. So he wanted to be a mailroom clerk, and he certainly had the skills to be a mailroom clerk, but when he interviewed, he couldn't relay those skills. And so he was always turned down. Well, through this process, we had an employer involved through the whole process, and she really got to know him, and she really got to know his skills. And guess what? She hired him full-time in her corporate office as a mailroom clerk. This was like his goal for 10 years. That's all he wanted, and he was finally able to achieve it. So super exciting stuff, like powerful outcomes. And Diane, I want you to tell your story. And Shannon, you have a great one too. Like, they're so powerful.
No, yeah, we do. And I spoke to that just a little bit earlier. There was a person with hearing loss who came to the event, presented great, obviously had great skills. And then we also had an employer who came in and met her, was interested in hiring her. They just didn't have any openings at the time. So as soon as I saw an opening, it was what they were looking for, called them up, said, hey, do you remember this person? They said, yes, and I'm like literally just ding, ding, it was done. So that's great. And I have to say, like, yes, it has been such a positive and rewarding experience for everybody involved. All of my participants came out more confident, a lot of folks, and I've got to say, when we talk about that 28% placement rate, we are talking about the hardest to serve people because this process takes enough time. Like, I had a lot of people who I would start out in the process and they would get jobs where the whole thing was over. So the people who I was left with were the people who were harder to place. I mean, like, literally that's just how that happened. So that 28% placement rate, I want to say, is a little more impressive than it actually sounds. And also just the confidence level. There's somebody I'm still working with. She's still on my caseload, and she hasn't found a job yet. But we are so much farther and deeper down the road than we would have been had she not done this, because we really needed that confidence building, really understanding how to play up strengths. It's just been a long process with that. So, and, you know, again, it was a great experience with job candidates and great experience for us. And this is just a part of the partners. We love everybody who is on our team.
Yeah. So I want to throw in one more example.
We can literally, yeah.
We have a lot of businesses who come to these events, and they engage our job candidates, and they maybe even bring them in for an interview. And I just wanted to share other ways that this has been successful. So our job candidates are able to get through the recruiters, and they're able to get through HR, but sometimes we find when they get to that hiring manager, they're not getting through that level. And so because of this, we've been able to reach out to our recruiters and let them know that we would like to meet with those hiring managers and help them understand what it means to partner with all of us and what it means to have diversity in the workplace and how people with disabilities can enhance their workplace and do some disability sensitivity trainings. And so I think the really cool thing is we're getting through the first layer of a business, we're getting through the second layer of business, and we're really getting to the meat of where we need to make a difference, who we need to influence to make that difference. And through this process, we've been able to get there because we've made such great relationships with the businesses, the recruiters, and with the hiring manager, the HR people. We've been had a little bit more difficulty getting into the hiring managers and making a difference at that level. And this process has helped us do that.
Yep, that's a good point. That's 100% true. So, Nikki, are you going to go through the discussion, right?
Yeah. Thank you, ladies. You know, I just love your enthusiasm, and I love that comment about being friends. And, you know, I'm hoping that those of the projects and the folks that are listening, that really is coming across loud and clear. I know it is to us, but, you know, having a little bit more insight and knowing you guys a little bit more, you know, it's the sharing and the, you know, there's no more it's my job or for my, you know, clientele or, you know, that all those barriers are broken down, and it just is so exciting and so refreshing to hear. So we want to have, you know, as I said at the beginning, this is a community of practice. We do highlight a project that is doing great things. And by the way, if you're out there doing great things and you haven't told us about it, you know, please do, because we want to hear from you as well. But this is also a time to ask questions, have a discussion, and really sort of get connected with one another. One of the things we normally do at the end is we normally actually do have a post-meeting survey, and unfortunately we've had a bit of a technical glitch and that isn't going to work today. So after we've had a bit of a discussion, I know Miranda's going to pop up another sort of polling question, so because we really want to get some feedback on today from you. So, but first of all, you know, let's unmute some of those lines, or you've got the chat feature. There's some discussion questions up in front of you. We don't have to stick with this. It's just so that we've got something to start talking about. So is there anyone out there that's done anything similar? I think earlier in the polling question, there was somebody that said that they'd done something similar to a reverse job fair. So has anybody done one? What's your experience been? Are you willing to share a little bit? Do we have anybody that's willing to put up their hand, put something into the chat, or ask a question of everybody? You can just put it in the chat if you'd like to. Did everybody go to sleep?
I don't think it's possible given the energy of the presentation material today.
I know. That's what I was thinking. It's impossible with that.
Maybe overwhelmed. I doubt they're asleep. Yeah, but I don't think they're overwhelmed either, because we have such a good crew out there in the field. I'm sure people have. Okay, so I did get I got a chat privately here just letting us know their next job fair is Tuesday, March 7th. Not sure who we is, but since we don't have colored tablecloths, what would you recommend to highlight another way to our DEI candidates? And this is kind of your prototypical job fair. WorkNet of Merced County. Would that be California, maybe? Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's just a regular job fair, or it's a reverse job fair?
Yes, job fair. So I think typical job fair sounds like what it's like.
Typical job fair. And a typical job fair, I don't really know that you need tablecloths, because if the businesses are the ones that have the table set up, then, you know, their display tells you what kind of business it is. What we were running into with the reverse job fair is the businesses are going to walk in and they're going to think, okay, I'm here to hire for customer service, and there's 30 job candidates in here, and I don't know which ones want customer service jobs, right? So the tablecloth idea was so that, and so, you know, like originally we're like, okay, how do we deal with that? And so one of the ideas that we had is, okay, we put all people with customer service together. Well, that means they're going to be really competing against each other in close quarters. So we're thinking, okay, how can we spread everybody out, but make sure that when the businesses come in, they know who it is that they want to talk to, right? So that was where the tablecloth came in. In a regular job fair, I really don't see what the purpose of it would be.
Yeah, I will jump in on that and say that I've been involved in the past with job fairs where they really wanted, they were going to be busing in kids from the high schools to come to the job fair, and they really wanted to know, like, which employers are going to be youth-friendly, and so they used balloons. So all the yellow balloons.
Oh, okay, good idea.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that might be, and I kind of think that maybe didn't one of our other folks say that they used balloons? I just actually saw that Karen Quisnell had her hand up, but it looks like she put her hand down again. So, are you there, Karen?
I've got Tara. Did you want me to unmute Tara?
Well, Karen had her hand up just now.
Karen Quisnell from Connecticut?
Yeah, from Connecticut had her hand up. And then
well, I see that Tara Brooks, Minnesota, Central Minnesota Jobs Training Services. Can I unmute her line while let's go ahead. Oh, Karen popped back up again. Okay, well, Tara, hang on a second. We'll unmute Karen, and then we'll get to Tara. Okay, hi, Karen.
Hi, how are you? Hi, thank you for this presentation. This was exciting. I'm all charged up now. You know how I get. And we did use balloons, actually, colored balloons for our Diversibility Career Fair so that the employers could identify the resource tables for them, so that they could see them across the room. But I love this idea, and for our, you know, for our Round 7 Youth Project, I'm thinking we need to do this. I think this is really exciting. I know in VR, our pre-employment, you know, transition services group called Level Up in Connecticut, they do what they call prep rallies, which I think a lot of that kind of, you know, job readiness work is done, but this could kind of take things to a whole other level. So I would love to give this a shot, and I really appreciate the level of detail provided in the presentation today, and that really the perfect roadmap. So thank you, everyone.
Oh, gosh, you're so welcome. And one thing I will say, like, however you do the work readiness workshops, one of the things that I really do highly recommend is that you try to get some of your core partners, like those folks who are always showing up, always interested in meeting your job candidates, always keep touching base, that you get some of those folks at the work readiness workshops. We particularly had businesses doing the interview segments, the part where people were going in and doing mock interviewing. I just feel like it adds a lot of credibility. It builds the employer excitement. It builds a really strong sense of community, so that it's not just like agencies then presenting this idea to the businesses. When you get the businesses involved in the process, then you're really building, I mean, in addition to the friendships that we've made with this group, I really solidified some of my employer relationships through this process.
That's great. Thank you.
That's wonderful. And it was great also to hear from Karen, who actually presented on our very first community of practice for DEI business engagement on their Diversibility Career Fairs. So thank you, Karen. And it looks like we've got Tara Brooks from Central Minnesota Job Training Services, one of our DEI pilot sites. She's actually around 5 and around 7 DRC. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute Tara's line. And I know she'll be excited about this because she was already planning on modeling after what Karen in Connecticut had done. So Tara, what do you think?
Hi, this is Tara. Yes, you hit it right on the dot, Miranda. We are really excited about pursuing a reverse job fair, and I just wanted to know, when you completed this, how much planning time did you allow yourself to get everything set up?
Initially, it was a lot of time.
Once we got going on them, they took less time. But the first couple of meetings, I mean, you want to kind of start a quarter out, so a season out in front of it, just so that you can establish rapport, establish roles of the group, assign tasks, decide, you know, what your focus is going to be. But we typically, so we were talking in the winter if we were talking about having something in the spring, or we were talking in the summer if it was going to be something in the fall. But the first one was the hardest one. But once we ripped the Band-Aid off on that, then, you know, now we know what to do, and now we fell into our roles, and it just kind of works now at this point because we've done 3 of them.
Yeah. No, and I mean, in addition to, I mean, I would plan, especially for your first one, and kind of depending on what your relationships are with your partners, anywhere from 6 to 3 months out. And again, that really depends, because it did take us a while to kind of, like, I don't know, like, it felt like we were grinding for a minute right there at the beginning, and then all of a sudden, like, everything started to fall in place, and there started to be kind of this shorthand language. And I feel like, you know, by the 3rd one, we can almost telepathically figure stuff out. It did not start that.
That's good to hear. Well, thank you. Yeah, we are talking about pursuing one in the fall, and I may possibly reach out to you if I have further questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I know I might be the easiest person to get a hold of just because of I'm the DRC kind of connection. So are we providing them with our contact information, Nikki?
As long as you want to share it, then yes, please. And this, again, is the whole point of the community of practice, is so you guys can get together offline. It doesn't have to be within any of this formalized thing. So, yeah.
So, no, I'm more than happy to touch base with any of the DRCs who are interested in doing this.
Okay. Thank you.
And we will also have the how-to guide available for download at the end of the discussion. And if you can't download it, then just send me an email and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But that's great. That's great. Thank you, Tara.
Thanks.
We actually have a couple of other questions coming in here. I'm gonna share a few of these questions. One question was, so from understanding the reverse job fair is specifically for DEI participants / clients?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's how they are. That was the question, was so from understanding the reverse job fair is specifically for DEI participants / clients, ? That came in on the chat.
That's an awesome question, because actually DEI had job candidates, Department of the Blind had job candidates, IVRS had job candidates, our CRP partners had job candidates, and none of us worked with those job candidates. So everybody who was on our committee brought in job candidates, and we all worked with them. They became like ours.
Yeah, that's another really cool thing. Okay, so I have 2 points on that question. One is, one of the things I absolutely 100% love about this process is that we know that when too many partners get involved, sometimes things get kind of mucked up. But because of the way this process worked, we all kind of got to touch base and know each other's candidates without feeling like we were like mucking up the case management part of it. So then if I heard about a job, in fact, this has happened a couple of times, where I would hear about a job that was for somebody else's job candidate, and I would say, hey, I need that, you know, the guy with the video in the back corner, I need somebody to find that guy because I've got a job for him. So we've been able to do that. The other thing that I want to stress to the DRC specifically, is not only is this an opportunity for you to partner with your external partners, but this is a great opportunity to partner with your internal partners. So really going out and touching base and letting whoever's doing TANF, whoever's doing unemployment, all the folks in your center that you're doing this job fair and whatever criteria is, if it has to be people with disabilities, then you do that. But you make sure that everybody in the center knows what you're doing and that you're pulling from them and that maybe they're the people who are helping put together these presentations and that they're involved in the process. Because this is a great opportunity to showcase how we don't necessarily have to silo all the people with disabilities out to the DRC, but the DRC can provide opportunities that other people within the center can use to help promote their job candidates.
Great. Thank you. We have a bunch of questions rolling in, and I'm looking at the time. We've got 5 minutes left. So I'm going to ask a couple of these other questions. Yeah. I think we'll probably cover pretty quick, and then we'll maybe unmute one more line.
Miranda?
Yes,
yeah,
Nikki?
because Cheryl Lewis has been waiting to ask a question for a while. If I can unmute Cheryl's line.
I'm not sure if I'll be able to unmute Cheryl's line, how she's coming in. Let's go ahead and try. Cheryl, are you there?
Okay.
Cheryl? Okay. Yeah, Cheryl looks like she's coming in through her computer speakers. It might not be working. Maybe Cheryl could type in her question and we can articulate it for you. So a couple of the other questions are, what are the costs associated with this event, and and what ideas do you have for resources to cover those costs?
The nice part about this, and what I was talking about earlier with the location, was that our costs, besides time and effort, were nothing because the location was free. So we decided to do free just to make it faster and not to have it tied to a funding source, just to make it a little bit more flexible. But that's something that we chose, but besides time and effort, it didn't cost anything.
Yeah, for the DRCs, you might use some of your flexible funds or whatever you've got available to do the tablecloths, which we bought at the dollar store, like they were crazy cheap. We also had trifold boards, but I mean, we're talking minimal. I mean, like the dollar store with our friend, but like other than that, nothing.
And for the job candidates, those that were voc rehab job candidates or Department for the Blind, we were able to write it in their IPE and under job placement and purchase what they needed under their plan. And we did at one point run into a situation where the room was going to cost us money and we didn't know what was going to cost us money, and we were brainstorming on how we would pay for the room. And one idea came up that each job candidate would maybe pay a participation fee of $40. And it would just be written into their plan, into their IPE, and then voc rehab would have paid for it. And then you could pay for a room that way. We opted not to do it, but that would be an idea of a way to pay for things.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
Great.
But we're lucky. I mean, like we have some really good business partners. So like the YMCA stepped in at one point. If you're doing good work out there, then sometimes people are willing to like give back a little bit.
This is great. I've got a couple of other, so one question came in was, are ticket candidates eligible to attend these? I would have to think the very quick answer to that would be yes. Am I right? Okay, good.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And then how are they going to, okay. We've got a couple of other things. We might follow up. We've only got 2 minutes left here, and I want to make sure that we're sharing the resources. So I'm going to share a file, do a file transfer so that folks can access the resources that everybody was talking about today, today's PowerPoint, as well as the how-to guide. And then also open up the poll for everybody to take a moment to complete that, and definitely respect everyone's time joining us today. This has been a very dynamic discussion, and we want to keep the conversation going offline. Let's go ahead and take us to we do have the additional resource page here. That's the Business Engagement Community of Practice. Here's my contact information and Nikki's. I'm going to go ahead and open up the poll where we'd love to hear any feedback that you all have from today's presentation. That can include questions or comments that you had that we didn't cover. And if you do that, since this poll is anonymous, since it's not our typical survey, just let us know who you are, and we will follow up with any answers to questions that you might have, and maybe we'll share those with the rest of the participants as well if you take a minute to do that. And I'll copy and paste anything in the chat and the Q&A that we didn't get to and follow up with Nikki and the group as well. Nikki, do you have any follow-up comments or questions as I'm downloading and getting ready to transfer the file for everyone here at the end?
Just to reiterate, is fantastic, and that we do have a list of everybody that's participating today, so any of the additional questions, we will get them answered, as Miranda said, and send them out to everyone that's participating. So if you want to type a question in here but you didn't want to say who you are, then we're going to send the questions and answers out to the entire group anyway. But thank you so much. Reminder to email either Miranda or I or both if you want to be part of this ongoing community that meets or doesn't meet, sorry, but communicates via email and phone and things outside of this forum. As you heard today, a couple of folks are going to get together on the phone separately, and they have already done that, some other states. So really is a great way to learn from your peers. And thank you so much, ladies. This has been great.
Thank you for including us.
Thanks for having us. We had a lot of time. Anytime.
Okay, well, I guess we will end there. This poll will stay up for a couple of minutes, will it, Miranda, if people still want to type some things in?
Yes, thank you. Yes, you've got another couple minutes, and you can certainly always email myself or Nikki. And thank you so much to Michelle and Diane and Shannon for sharing today. We really are looking forward to continuing this discussion and presenting more dynamic practices to all of you. This has been great.